everybody. Thanks for
Hi.
joining us. Look who I have. I've got Angela and Diana with me. I've been dying to get them on with me for the longest time, and we just haven't been able to mesh our schedules, and we finally worked it out. So
Yay.
we're really excited to have them on. I'm always telling them when I sit in on one of their streams, it's like sitting in on a master class, for free. And because I learned so much and I love it. So that's why I put in there master teachers of the tarot.
Thank you.
And I'm sure y'all both feel like I do. There's still so much more to learn.
Oh, yeah.
But y'all just, it's like when I watch y'all, I learn so much. I'm learning to do the regular playing cards with Angela, who's doing that class, and learning a little bit astrology from Diana, watching her, and because that stuff is over my head. I don't know. I know I'm a Gemini. That's not what I know.
Yeah.
And if I do Vedic astrology, I'm a Taurus, and I'm like, okay, I kind of fit both. So
you are both, because even for us doing Eastern, the sun is actually sitting in Taurus. It is shining through Gemini to cast the light on us. And so that's the difference between the method we follow here and what Vedic is. And Vedic uses a rectangular chart rather than a circular chart. So we do get both traits. And then we have the progressed sun, which is you add a degree for every day you're alive, for every year you're alive. So you're 70 some years old. So
but I'm getting there.
Speaking of myself, I add 75 degrees to where my birth chart is, and that puts my sun in Virgo now, which is grounded. It is an earth sign. So just to confuse you a little bit more.
Well, it's like I've tried to watch classes, online classes or something about astrology, and they just start talking about the different signs. It's like, okay, I get that. We're in a pie chart. I get that. And then they delve off into houses and degrees and this and that and the other. I'm like, okay, you lost me. I don't know. That's not my strong suit.
Well, the assignment is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Right.
It's a clock.
Right.
The planets move backwards, counterclockwise. Each house is ruled in order by Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, all the way through the zodiac to Pisces, which is 12. So no matter what, when you are born, no matter what sign is in that house, you will still have the flavor of the ruling sign and the ruling planet. And when you have your blueprint, consider that where you land, if it is not in its house of rulership, consider you are paying rent with the option to buy, because your blueprint never changes. The only thing that changes is what's transiting in the sky.
Okay, cool. That kind of makes sense. So usually they lose me because they start talking all this houses and degrees and this, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about now.
Okay, and so always keep in mind that Carl Jung, the father of modern psychology, was an astrologer first, and he always would make a chart when he had a very difficult.
I did not know that, and I studied psychology in college.
Well, and then if you understand the Briggs-Myers test.
Vaguely, I remember it. It's been a while.
Introvert, extrovert, blah 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 blah.
Right.
That's your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, and your north node. That covers the Briggs-Myers.
Now I don't know what my north node is, but I know that in Western astrology, I'm Gemini Sun, Aquarius Moon, and Aries rising.
I'm pretty sure I
And-
put you in here already.
And in Vedic astrology, I'm Taurus Sun under Gaia energy, Capricorn Moon with Jupiter and Saturn, and Pisces rising, the Brahmin class. That's what Hogarth told me. So,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, I
Brahmin?
don't know what the hell the Brahmin is, or I mean,
That's
I know
a bull.
what it is.
That's a bull.
Yeah, that's the bull. Yeah,
That's the bull.
but I didn't know what he meant when he was saying it. We were doing a
Mhm.
live stream, and I said something about I don't even know what I am in Vedic, and he was like, well, wait. And
Well.
he pulled up his computer thing, and he's like, when's your birthday? And that's why I gave him my birthday. He says, you know what time you were born? I said, yes, I do. Do you know what location? I said, yes, I do. So he's plugging in all of his numbers, and he starts popping all this out. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, that's interesting. So I guess, I've been trying to get a little of both. So now instead of reading 3 astrology signs every day, now I'm reading 6 astrology signs
Yeah,
every day.
absolutely. Because you can't go nowhere without your north node. That's the way forward.
Mhm.
Okay. And what is the north node again?
Okay, so the north node and the south node are always opposite each other.
Right.
The same degree, the same minutes, seconds. It's always an opposition, but to me, oppositions are poles. They're not necessarily a bad thing.
Mhm.
So your north node is the way forward. This is the way I see it. When you are born, you have this ascendant, your rising sign. That's the moment you open your eyes, take your breath, and
Excuse
the
me.
time that the
Right back.
doctor writes down.
Okay.
Okay. So when that happens, that's you. That's you in intimate relationships. That's you when you greet the day. That's you. The
Right.
sun sign is how you are when you maybe get close to people, but in an acquaintance situation. It's, I know these people and I'm comfortable and I will get this, but I'm not going to give it the all because I don't know everything, right?
Right.
And where you might even say, hold back on your emotions. Your emotions are your moon sign. All right. Now, as humans, we are here to be our highest self. We don't ascend without striving to be our highest self. That's
Right.
what all of our childhood is about, to learn the patterns that get us to our highest self. So when, as humans, we are here behaving in a way that is our highest intimate self, our rising sign, and we get into trouble and we need help, we drive the north node to take us to where it is. So we can reach that pinnacle.
Okay.
For example, myself, I'm a Libra rising, and I happen to have an Aries north node. Well, those are opposite each other. That also means, and in my chart, it is my Aries rising, my Libra rising is conjunct my south node. So
Okay.
I already know that the only way to find balance is for me to let go of shit that no longer serves my purpose. Excuse my French.
That's okay. You can say
And the
shit.
way
It's good.
forward is to delegate properly. Delegate with a smile on my face. Be a school teacher, because of its location as well. It's in the 7th house. So my north node is in the 7th house of Libra, and my north node is in the 7th house of Libra in Aries. The Libra is in the 1st house, opposite Aries, which is Aries' natural home is the 1st house.
Mhm.
So it all comes together to make you a complete person. Now, I'm not everybody is granted with having a perfect connection like that with your rising sign. So others maybe have a quincunx and have to make adjustments all their lives. And others, may have a square. And so it's always a challenge. And others may have a conjunction similar to mine. And that makes it another conjunction would be the exact one at the exact place. And then that makes it even a little easier because it's that automatic, you don't have to stop and think twice. It just kind of happens,
Right.
Mhm.
Because I know I hear Andre talking about when people ask him if he's done a chart on so and so or this political leader or that political leader, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Well, I could do a general, but I can't do an exact because I don't have a time of birth." And
Yes.
and he
And
said
see,
because depending on the time of birth could shift you from one degree to another or something. And I was like, okay, that's kind of
exactly. And that can change the house. So what you have to do when that occurs is you really need to sit with the client, with your sitter, and
Mhm.
you have to go over it and work it out. So I always start with noon as a birth time because that's an awake time of day for everybody, right? In your time zone. And so what did your mother say? Were you born at breakfast? Were you born? She was waiting for lunch and then she had to go. And so she didn't get
no, I
to
woke mine
couldn't
up in
wait.
the middle of the night.
Right. So, even if you're not accurate, you can be close, but you have to
Mhm.
sit with the client because the client has to agree to the explanation of what that sign is about. Oh yeah,
Right.
that sounds like me. Oh yeah, that sounds like me. Oh yeah, that's yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can amend it, and you can even, pay a lot of money to have someone try to amend it for you. But then you have to have all these dates. And it still breaks down to how do you feel about it?
Yeah.
Just like when we try to
Exactly.
interpret dreams, it's like, but
Mhm.
basically, what did it do for you while you were in the middle of it? So, it's a conjoint. And the other thing is what makes it a little more difficult is that the rising sign changes every 2 hours and 15 to 20 minutes
Mhm.
a day. So it goes through the zodiac daily.
Right.
Okay. And the moon changes every 2.5 days. So in the course of a month, it's gone through everything, right?
Right.
Okay. So when you bear that in mind and you're trying to adjust the time, accuracy is wonderful. But if you can get as close as possible, that can work too. And if it doesn't resonate, but almost does, then you can just go, okay, let's go back a little bit or let's go forward a little bit and see where we get it to change.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, because I know my late husband was also Gemini. And so we used to laugh about between the two of us, we had 4 people living together.
Oh, hell
And
yeah.
that's certainly what it felt like some days. But he was a May baby and I'm a June baby. We were only a week apart.
Uh-huh.
6 years, but a week apart for the dates.
Well,
And
6 years makes a big difference because you're in a different Saturn pattern.
right,
But
yeah.
the generational planets, what year was he born? What year was he born?
He was born in 55.
Okay, so the generational planet.
1955.
Okay,
He's got a lot of fives in his. He had a lot of
yeah.
fives in his life.
So the generational planets would have been the same for both of you, maybe in the same house. It would depend on his time of birth. But those
I don't
generational
remember that.
planets are the far out goals. And that would be Uranus, Pluto, Neptune.
Right.
Jupiter is a 12-year around the sun. Saturn is a 7-year. So they're goal setters, but they're not they're not quite so generational, right?
Okay. Well, we had a couple of questions on the astrological stuff, and then we're going to flip around to Angela for a short lesson on the cards.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do some general readings.
Sounds good.
Marjorie wanted to know, what does it mean if you have a sign in your chart that is in retrograde?
Okay, so
That's a good question.
Yeah, one of the retrogrades that we always talk about and hear a lot about is Mercury retrograde. Oh no, don't sign anything. Not true. Check it twice, measure twice, cut once. That's basically what a retrograde means. When a planet is retrograde, it goes over an area in the chart. We refer to that as the shadow area because all of those degrees are going to be covered again when it goes retrograde. Because when it goes retrograde, it's only going to go so far. And we know where that's going to be. So that's the shadow phase. That is showing you where the mistakes were made. And then when it goes forward again, that's its third pass over the same degrees. Now you should have been able to figure out what tools you need to repair it or build it and go buy them. Go get what you need, whether it's seriously something breaking down in the house or in your car or whatever, or just something in your life, in your soul's path. It gives you opportunity to take a breath. Now, because I have a lot of retrogrades in my chart, from experience, I can tell you, I do better when a planet is retrograde, and it happens to be one of my retrograde
Now, I've heard
planets.
some people say that. I've heard other, especially astrologists, say, "Oh no, I do my best work when I'm in retrograde."
Yep, and
I'm
Mercury
like, okay,
is one of them.
Okay.
And it's
So,
one of
and
the
I
reasons.
know Juno just did for my birthday. She did my birth year report, and so I've been kind of going over it the last couple of days, and the breakdown,
Isn't it?
Whoa! I mean, all these different levels and avenues from this card to that card to this person to that person. I was like,
I know.
It's going to take me a year to figure out
Angela's.
what the hell is on this thing. I mean, but it's interesting at the same time because I'm going through it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's okay. I can see that.
And that's Angela's expertise. And I'm sitting and playing with it to look at it astrologically as well, because it's all about transiting planets. This is your Pluto phase and your Mars phase and blah, blah, blah. So all of these different planets always come into play in the Juno forecast with a deck of cards. And then Angela, with her expertise on the cards, on the card.
When we first started doing the Destiny card readings, I guess about a year ago now, we started doing a show together. We used to do it twice a month. Now we do it once a month because we're both so busy. We're like, okay, we got to back off a little bit. But in the beginning, I remember it was amazing how many people would give us their birthdays, and they would be diamonds, diamonds, diamonds. It's like, okay, this is a room full of psychics, empaths, intuitives, and we're getting all diamonds, and is the money people, so we used to laugh about it. She said, I think you'd be pulling clubs and hearts, not diamonds. I said, that's kind of, now I'm an ace of spades in that configuration. And according to Juno, that's like the best card you can get for the Destiny reading. I said, okay, well, something good. I'll take it. I'll take it and run with it.
Right?
That's it. So,
well, and one of the reasons why we talk about Mercury so much is because Mercury goes around the sun in 88 days. And in that 88 days, he goes retrograde 3 times. He's coming into one now. And on the 17th of this month, he enters the shadow phase. Now, he won't go retrograde till August August 6th, August 3rd. I have to look. But when he does, from the 17th till that day he goes retrograde, journal. What's going on? What's up? What's down? And so when it goes backwards,
That's interesting.
that's the time to pay attention. So that when
Okay.
it goes forward, you can fix it.
Now, Heavenly Blessed Honey had is really one question, but she broke it up into two sections.
Okay.
The first one was, do you outwardly act like your moon sign, or do you act like your rising sign?
Now, that depends on the strength of it. We refer to a house has 30 degrees in it, so does a sign. It begins at 0 and ends at 29 degrees, 59 minutes. When it is 0, that's the line of another cusp and another sign. Well, if you're using a whole chart, just to keep it simple, we'll keep it to that. So it's another sign and another house at 0 degrees. Now, if you have a 4-year-old rising and a 29-year-old moon, that rising is going to take over if it's a temper tantrum, right? That'll be the first thing you do. Or are you going to be able to control it? Now is where you get into the part of the transiting planets above us and how are they affecting you. And as we mature and go through the progressed sun, all the planets get a progression, but the sun is the easiest one to track because the sun moves a degree a day. So the sun goes into this progression and we mature. So if you're in 0 to 9 degrees, how did you behave when you were a 4-year-old? And how much of that were you still doing when you were a 9-year-old? And when you entered the 10 to 19-year-old, well, now we're rebelling, right? Now we're figuring it out for ourselves. Now we stick the hand in the fire just to make sure that those parents knew what the hell they were talking about. Then we start to progress again. Once we hit that 27-year-old, once we hit 21, we reach a level of maturity where we maybe have gotten into trouble a couple of times and needed help to get bailed out and learned a lesson and realized how to control ourselves. So the next decade is the mature part of the sign. It's from 20 degrees to 29 degrees in 59 minutes. 29 degrees is a critical sign because it's getting ready to change to the next sign at 0 degrees. The only way you're really a cusper is when it's at 0 degrees. Okay. Even if you have a few minutes in there, you can still consider a cusper, where you still are carrying traits of the very mature 29 degrees. 29 reduces to 11. That's a portal going into the next degree. The next degree starts at 0, 0, which is another portal. So,
okay,
you know, when we think of it in those terms of the decans, what degree is it at? That can help you find the maturity level and which one should you do and what's the sign and how you pull it all together. The silver thread from each thing that becomes the rope that supports you.
Okay. And one more astrology question here. How do you figure out what your north node is?
Okay, so here's what the node is. The node is a dot in the sky. And the best way to explain that is 2 people stand holding a rock at the river's edge, right? Or a very calm lake's edge. They both let go of that. And where a ripple intersects is a node. You can see a node on a tree where a branch is beginning to come out. That's a node. It's a new beginning. But it's fleeting. It's a moment in time, right? Now, the nodes don't move that rapidly through the air up there. It depends on things like the phase of the moon and other things to that nature. But when you see that, it is partially degree, partially, well, always time and degree. Time, space is the continuum that we base this on. The nodes are the closeness of the moon to the earth. Now, Black Moon Lilith, just to confuse you all a little bit more briefly, Black Moon Lilith is Adam's first wife. I'm out of here, talk to the hand, blah, blah, blah. That's the dark side of the moon. That's the darkest spot of the moon, and her distance to the earth or her relative closeness to the earth. And then White Moon Lilith is actually Selene, and that's the lightest spot. And in your chart where you see Selene and Black Moon Lilith coming together, you know you're born on a new moon. You know, so there's so many little nuances that can show.
Yeah, I knew it was really involved because I've listened, like, you know, Colleen did a birthday chart on me a couple of years back, and she went over it on air live, point by point, even though I didn't understand what the hell she was talking about. But she was doing it, you know, we were doing it to show other people it's not painful to go through this process.
No,
she really explained to you what she's finding when she's doing it. You know, and I was like, yeah, just do me and we'll do it on air. I don't care what people know.
Well, it's like,
and that way more people will buzz you up and schedule to get a reading done, you know, and
yes,
we're all here to support each other. So
the biggest thing that's scary about it is that it involves math. But yeah, how is it any
that's
different?
Where I kind of freak out.
How is it any different than 21 major arcana and 4 suits? How is it any different? Right? Or for cartomancies, because you gotta stir the pot and make it all work. And when you add too much salt, what do? You throw in a potato.
That absorbs the salt.
Right?
You know, if you have a cast iron skillet that gets rusty, get it real hot, put some rock salt in it, cut a potato in half, and use the potato to scrub it.
Scrub it. Better than anything else. Exactly. And leave no soap residue.
Exactly. And then every time this is what my grandmother taught me, every time you use cast iron skillet, you wash it, you dry it, you put a little bit of oil in it, rub it in real good, and you stick it in the oven for a couple of hours on a low heat, and then take it out so that it reseasons itself and it doesn't rust. And I can't tell you how many people I've had to rescue their cast iron pots from them because they were destroying them, and it was like, no, don't do that. That's terrible.
Angela is a Virgo, and Dr. Ann, I love it. I'd like to know why the moon doesn't rotate like other heavenly bodies. We only see one side and the shadow of the earth on the moon phases. So the jury's still out on what the moon is. Is it really made on green cheese?
Or is it a ball that we put up there?
But moons are things. Yeah, moons are connected to the planet, right? Look at Jupiter with what? We're up to 27 or 36. I can't keep track of how many he's got. So it's like it is in the magnetic pole of that orbit and not in its own orbit. It is in the magnetic pole of our orbit.
Okay.
Cool. That's the easiest way for me to explain it. There might be a better answer out there, but
okay. And
which is why he could be made of not kryptonite but steel or whatever.
Yeah, there's all kinds of thereries I've heard out there. You know, as long as it works, who cares?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the way I look at it. All right, there we go. Now, Angela, my dear, it's your turn.
Okay. I just came up with a idea for my class tomorrow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There you go. What's the moon made out of?
Okay, we're talking about astrology. Okay. Well, your spades and your swords are air, so those are air signs. And that's how you can tell who you're dealing with. If you're looking at people in the cards, that's how you can identify who that person is. It's another help to identify them. And that's your air. And then your diamonds are pentacles. Your cups, your water.
Yeah.
That's your water signs. And then the wands and the clubs are your fire signs.
Yeah. Awesomeness.
And that brings the tarot and the playing cards together. And it helps you to identify people in your cards that much better. Because that's one thing I really love about reading the playing cards is within a half a second, I know exactly who it is in my cards, who that person is. If a queen comes up, a jack, I know who they are. And it really helps when you know who's coming at you or who's leaving, you know, or what they're doing.
Yeah. I know here locally, we have a guy, he's actually a math teacher, but he's been studying tarot for like 18 years. And he just wrote a book a few months back. I went to the book signing at a local, I didn't even know we had a spirit shop here. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm looking out. Oh, wow, we got a store and I'm meeting an author that's local. And last night he gave the first class in a series that he wants to start up of doing the tarot cards, one card at a time. So it's like one class, 45 minutes. We only talk about one card. And there was maybe 5 of us, I think, that showed up because we did it online. And it was just interesting how it kind of really opens up your eyes to how different people interpret the same card, looking at the same picture with the same keywords, but yet they look at it and they see something different. That was brought home to me a couple of years ago when I did a show with Jeffrey Ripe Color. And he was doing a thing for a while, one card at a time for like an hour. He'd have a guest on and they would just talk about that card. And he asked me to do one, and it was for the Hanged Man. And it was like, I'd never really thought about the card. You know, I was still really new at tarot. And it was just all the different aspects he brought out. You're like, well, what colors are the cards that you're reading? Are they all the same color? Or are they different colors? Are they all pastel colors? Or are they all, darker colors? Is the sun in the background? What's the ground? Is it mountains? Is it water? Is it just barren land? I mean, what's behind the picture that's kind of promoting the picture? Why is it this way and not that way? And it was so interesting because I had just never thought about looking at the cards like that.
Yeah,
it just
that
didn't
gives you a whole more
I was
detail.
concerned with what the person was doing and what the meaning was, because I was learning. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But it was like I hadn't gotten past that point of taking in the entire picture of the card. Well, last night we were doing the 9 of Wands. And so he had the regular Rider-Waite up. So everybody was looking, we were all looking at the same card and talking about it. And I said, well, actually, I have a deck that I like to use a lot. And it's like a gilded version of the Rider-Waite. So it's a little fancier. It's got more scroll work and color. So yeah, very similar to that. And when I held up my 9 of Wands, the first thing one of the other ladies said was, well, yours has clouds in the sky where the regular one doesn't. It's just a plain blue sky. And I went, and I'm looking at this, wow, you're right. I never noticed that. And so I really started looking. And of course, it's the guy with the bandage wrapped around his head, hanging onto a staff. And I said, I always notice the way he's leaning on the staff because the staff is at tilt. And because I have back injuries and have to use a cane, I always associated it with he's leaning on that for support because he's injured and he can't stand up straight by himself anymore. So that wand is not just something that he's holding, it's supporting him. And everybody was like, never thought of it that way. And then, we started picking apart the picture. And I said, well, when I'm looking at my card as opposed to what's up, the one that's up, the bandage, there's like just white and gray. I said, but my picture, I hold it up, and right over the forehead part, the bandage is pink, a pale pink, like blood has leaked through. So a head injury is what I always assumed. And everybody was like, I'm going to have to find a different deck of cards. I said, but it's so different because there's so now, used to be that's all you had was the Rider-Waite deck, right? Or playing cards, which is what Angela uses and is teaching us every Saturday at
1 o'clock Central.
1 o'clock Central. Every Saturday, she does a class on how to read the playing cards. That is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I haven't been able to get them all, but if I don't get them, I save them and I watch them later. And
it'll slowly come to you. And the best thing is rewatching. I mean, when you watch even those readings will teach you a lot.
Like I was sharing backstage 2 weeks ago. I threw out the question to Angela, well, what do you see coming up for me in July? And she starts talking about hospital and medical emergency and these men in my life and and I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell is she talking about? That's got nothing to do with it. I don't, what happened last week? My son has a heart attack. Medical emergency, all these men in my life, because now I'm dealing with him and his doctors, which are all men. And it's like, okay, bit of prophetic fortune telling there. I mean, it just, I had to go back and rewatch it because I was like, am I remembering correctly what she said? And anytime I ask anybody to do a reading, I always try to save it or at least save that clip of it so that I can go back and refresh my memory on what they said if something happens. And I'm like, wait a minute, didn't so-and-so say that? And then I can go look. And so, it was really eye-opening when we rewatched it this past week. It was like, well, damn, she was nailing that right on the head. I mean, because when
That's
you told me,
I was like, playing cards. The playing cards are very literal. They're blunt. They can be brutal, but they tell you exactly what's coming at you. Yeah,
exactly. I know Gerald does caffeinated, uncaffeinated. What is the show he does?
Caffeinated and unfiltered.
And I love to watch. Yeah, caffeinated and unfiltered. And I love watching it because the readings are just very blunt. No prettying it up. No making everybody feel okay. It's just boom. This is what it is.
Angela's on that show.
I'm on that show.
Angela does it with them. But I love to watch it. A lot of times it's on when I'm at work because a lot of Gerald stuff he does during the day when I'm working. So I'm usually lurking in the background. Sometimes if I have time to sit down at my desk, I'll pop into the chat and say hello to everybody. But most of the time it's just I got one earbud plugged in and I'm running around doing my stuff. And so a lot of times I'm just lurking and listening to everybody. It's I don't really get a chance to interact as much as I would like to, but at least I can listen at work and they don't give me a hard time about it. They don't care.
Yeah.
So that's nice. I know some people That would not be cool at all if they had an earbud plugged in while they were at work. Hang on. I was trying to. Yeah, Rose had asked a question earlier. Can a person come through a portal when they're born on a portal day? Oh, no, there's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, yeah, I would say so. 8/8. She was born on 8/8. It was, even if it's a planned C-section, doesn't matter. You were brought into the world for your first breath at that time on that date. So it's a portal. And every day, when you do the numerology on things, you come down with numbers that give you portals you didn't even know exist, let alone these easier ones like 8/8 Lionsgate,
Yeah. I know I didn't understand when I first kind of opened my senses back up and finally admitted, okay, yeah, I've got abilities. Let's quit ignoring it. And Angela sent me my first deck of cards because she caught me in the chat and she's like, you're psychic, right? I'm like, no. She's like, yeah. She said, you're a reader, right? And I said, I don't even own a deck of cards. I don't know anything about tarot. Give me your address, she says. And she sent me cards. And I got the cards and I emailed her back and I said, what do I do with them now? And she's like, just watch. When you're watching and they're throwing cards, you shuffle and throw your cards. Do they match? Are they the same? Are they opposite of what they're saying? Or are they telling the same story? And that's how I taught myself to read tarot, was doing that. And, but I may not have ever picked up a deck if it hadn't been for somebody else, Angela, saying, no, you need cards because you're a reader here, And since then, I've made it a habit of, if I get a deck of cards, whether if they're tarot or oracle, if they just don't resonate with me and I run into somebody that's looking for that particular type of card, I'll just say, here, they're yours. I must have had them. I got them for you and didn't know it. And I'll just give them the deck of cards. And somebody was like, well, what do you charge for that? I said, I don't charge anything for that. I just give it to them. It's a gift, If they're questioning and that's their interest, then I'm going to give them something that's going to help them grow a little bit. My way to pay back, I guess, pay it forward.
I've always done that.
And but yeah, I'd never really thought about a portal day. I know the first time I heard portal, I was like, what the hell is a portal? I mean, I knew the technical term of the word, but psychically, I didn't know what it meant. What's a portal? And in the beginning, I was always embarrassed to ask too many questions because I felt like an idiot. Until I started hearing other people asking the same questions I was thinking. And I was like, okay, I'm not the only idiot in the room, so I can ask my questions. There's more of us than we know.
There always will be. Yes.
Yeah. And it's because of people like Angela and Diana and others that joyfully give you information or help you along the way, teach you. Like I said, it's like sitting in a master class every week when I watch them, just absorbing what I'm listening to. Like with so many of the readers, even new readers, I'll learn something because they saw something a little differently than I saw it. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of different. I'd never thought of it that way. Let's see, we had Sue Toffee had a question. Are curses bad juju? Depends on
I would say only if you believe in it.
Yeah. I mean, where I'm at, I'm surrounded with good and bad juju and what people believe and casting curses on people and whatnot. And I've found that the strength of it depends on what the person believes If they don't believe in the curse, it doesn't affect them. But if they're like
No.
really into that kind of thing, it'll wreck them. It'll mess them up big time.
Well, it shields up and bubbles around, right?
Yeah,
Well, if
Leah,
you're
8-8 is the lion's gate. And Leah had asked, is 8-8 Lion's Gate? Is it a portal? That's a portal. That was the first one I heard of, and I was like,
You know,
I don't understand what the significance
in,
is. But
well, I read in the chat that Rose says, you know, she was born 2 months early, which was planned. So you were expected, your date was selected, but that hasn't changed the fact that that's when you were born. So yes, you came through that portal.
cool. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. As far as bad juju, like I said, curses, I'm down here in voodoo heaven. I mean, everything revolves around that. We have sports teams and schools and stuff that when they have events that are happening, they will not only call the local priest to come bless everything, they'll call the local Cajun traiteur, which is kind of like a witch doctor, to come and do their stuff to make sure they're covered. You know, nobody's going to get injured or hurt. And I've had people who are new that moved down and they're like, why are they doing that? I'm like, because that's what's believed down here, you know, is just part of the culture. And when you get over towards the New Orleans area, you're dealing more with Creole culture. And that's even more intense voodoo and curses and all that kind of stuff. So you have people over closer to that area that are really big time believers and all of that. So it's a lot of it, I think, just goes back to what you believe in and what you don't. That's how I always took it. Let's see. Leah had a question. Does my Virgo moon help my Pisces sun or create tension? That would be a Diana question.
Well, Virgo, and you were born on a full moon. Because Pisces is the opposite sign of Virgo in the chart.
Okay.
I was born on a full moon. 45 was born on a full moon. How do you work with that energy? Because now you have a you're a duality. This is your pole. This is where does the hot end and the cold begin? This is all up to you. You live with a tug of pull and battle yourself all the time? Or do you, as you mature, learn how to carry it together? How to allow your moon the space it needs and your sun the space it needs at the proper time, right? So I say yes, because you're carrying the pole together. And to that, it doesn't matter where it gets hot and cold. We're in this together. This is, this is part of your personality. And that's why oppositions are not something that scares me in anybody's chart when I see that. And even quincunxes don't bother me. That is the finger of God. This is the yod. It's the thing that you should be doing. Are you doing it? Well, I have a very lucky chart. So I fell into fabulous jobs that gave me the ability to excel. Didn't happen young in my life because I had to learn how to fine tune things. But once I figured out how to let my moon and sun work together, I learned how to keep my quincunxes, my finger of God, working for me. And so that's why it's so important. And there's so many free places to just get your chart. And seriously, you can begin to decipher this by yourself. And one of my favorite sites, I created my own textbooks out of there. is cafe astrology. And I never encountered anything there that I had to pay for. And believe me, it was at a time where I had no cash, when I was really working towards it. I've been into astrology since I was 4 years old and didn't even know what the heck it was. So
most of the people that I've met that are into astrology, yeah, it's been something they followed like all of their lives.
You just do it. My biggest drawback was I couldn't do the math. Spell calculus. If they'd have taken me to a pool hall and taught me to shoot pool or taught me astrology, I would have understood geometry a whole lot better. I do understand it now, but can I sit down and do the math? No. I'm dyslexic. It just all goes blah, blah, blah in my head. But the best thing that happened was in 1977, Coleco came out with this little round, handheld, computerized, you put this data code in and we'll show you what your chart is. I have it. My mother gave it to me for my birthday that year. And I've been doing astrology with accuracy ever since, because it gives out the right code. It gives out the right data. And I've proved it time and time again. And you put two 12-volt batteries in there. So I have to test to make sure every time I want to play with it. But it was like that little Simon Says game, only, it wasn't that. So.
Okay, interesting. All right, I'm trying to back up a little bit here and get some questions. Kelly wants to know, Angela, can you pull a card for me? Am I more a teacher or a healer or neither?
Okay, let me see what I got. I would say teacher. I got the Hermit in reverse. So that's not you going within, that's you going without. And going without means spreading knowledge. You're going to be spreading knowledge. So I would say a teacher, but a teacher can be a healer and a healer can be a teacher. They can both go hand in hand. In fact, I don't ever do a healing where I don't teach somebody something. Like my neighbor, I took him spaghetti last night and he got a lesson in how food is medicine.
Yeah, very much so. It was like I've been so exhausted all week just dealing with everything with my son that yesterday I slept until 10 a.m. I can't remember the last time I slept that late. I'm usually up. I mean, during the work week, I'm up at 5 a.m. and weekends 6 at the latest, 6:30. But I slept till 10 a.m. yesterday. And I was like, wow. I mean, and the guys were telling me, yeah, we just want to let you sleep. We figured you needed it because it's my son, my brother, and his son. We all live together. So I'm surrounded by testosterone with two male dogs and a male lizard. Me and the cat are the only two females in the house. And then when I woke up and I'm like struggling to get my eyes open, my brother's like running in and out the door. I was like, what is he doing? He was grilling. He grilled enough food yesterday for us to eat off of all weekend. So I was like, oh, cool. I don't have to cook. Even better. My day just got better and better. And, and I've learned to take days like that in stride. It's just like, yeah, okay. Spirit decided you just need to rest and veg out and watch a movie, which I did, and just not think about anything. And that's what I did. And then I started working on setting up shows and promos because I was like, oh, I got stuff happening tomorrow. I got to get my butt in gear. And because sometimes I start blissing out on movies, I completely lose the day. I'll go from one movie to the next, to the next, to the next. I'm a big movie buff. Let's see what else we got. Care Bear wanted to know, if you were born on a Monday, are you more affected by the moon since Monday is the moon's day?
Well, The witch in me says, hell yeah. No,
Oh
astrology,
yeah.
the day of the week does come in. I mean, just consider that old poem, Friday's child is meek and mild, or, whichever one that is. Monday is full of woe. Is Monday full of woe, or Wednesday's full of woe because it's hump day? I can't remember what it is, but I would say yes, because that's the
I
witch
was
in
a
me,
Saturday.
and I'm a Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, let's party. But I would just say yes. I don't listen to that too much because I'm busy with the dates, the numbers, and all of that. So I don't look at the day of the week, though it is provided for me in the app that I use.
Yeah.
It's just one more angle that I can add to it when I'm doing somebody's reading. And quite often I do readings with cards, astrology and tarot, or a particular oracle deck, to give you, the extra punch of what the energy of the house is. And then I might look at it as the day of the week of your birthday.
Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Oh, real quick, just to let everybody know, Heavenly Blessed Honey's daughter is in the hospital. Her name is Sophia.
Yes.
So please add her to your prayer list. Send her Reiki, healing, whatever you do it. Because that's how we get people healed around here. So we all send it out. So I just wanted to, before I started, so I wouldn't forget. So, because yeah, my memory isn't the best some days. Carl wanted to know if he could get a reading on a dream from earlier today. And this is the dream.
Was this blonde
woman in my dream today, my guide talking to me what looks like we're in a library. I woke up like it's real, and she's got a YouTube channel called Channeling Spirit. Am I becoming clairvoyant?
Carl. Okay. You're the third library dream in as many days. Well, a little bit longer. But in the past week, you're the third person to come with this library dream. Was the library full of books, or was it empty? Was she offering you information or holding it back? My gut is telling me that she is showing you a new path, a new beginning. Take a different book off the shelf. You're finished with the book that you have been repeating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that this is one of your permanent guides. You are already our clairvoyant, Carl. You just need to wake up to all of your skills. You have them. You know what pushes you to drop your Geiger counter where you do, to go looking for. Instinct is telling you where your treasure is hidden. Right? What'd you get, Angela?
I got about the same thing, but I got that he was stuck on a certain subject and needed to move on.
Yes.
That was the major message in there, was that he needed to move on to another subject.
Yeah, because I saw her changing books.
Yeah.
Sherry, what about you?
Well, the first thing I that came to my mind was Akashic Records. He was
Yeah.
in the Akashic Records.
Uh-huh.
And then I pulled Metatron and Sandalphon, which is sacred connection, synchronicity, divine connection, understanding lessons. So
Partnership.
you're being shown your records where they're kept so that you can go in
Mhm.
and start learning what it is you need to learn. I love this deck. This is the Divine Masters deck
And
from
and
Kyle Gray.
depending on which book you're listening to or reading or whose legend, they were cousins on Earth. Elijah and God, what's the other guy's name? They were ascended masters that became Sandalphon and Metatron. Now some books call them cousins, some say they were brothers. At any rate,
She looks like this person, girl. Is that what you meant? The person
yes,
you saw?
that be Sandalphon.
Yeah. Because he put in there, she looks like her.
There you go. That's
okay,
who she
the
is.
girl says the card looks like her. So yeah, definitely then.
Definitely.
You were being given that message that, you know, your records are here and you can go into them. That's what I'm getting, you know, that.
And angels are nondescript, male or female. They are encompassing spirit. They're
Let's see. Heavenly blessed. Can you see what gifts are the ones I use or will use?
I'm getting start with the pendulum and ask it. That's a starting point. You'll have more than one. Everybody has more than one. So get the pendulum and just hold it stock still and say, am I clairvoyant? And it'll give you a yes or a no. Am I clairaudient? And it'll answer. But first learn the pendulum, and then you can learn a whole lot more about everything else. Because nobody's just one.
I pulled 3 cards. First card was weigh it out. What does your gut tell you on this? How many times do you foresee something and go, oh my gosh, I just thought that person was going to call. I just had that thought. Yes, you are. You're getting messages from above. So weigh it out. How often does it happen where your accuracy shows up? So you also want to be careful who you let close to you during this time while you are developing them. Like Angela said, you know, it's not so much that you have to be private about it. It's just you have to slowly let people know, let them in on how much you are able to do, right? Because they've already probably got a good idea of what your skills are. They're close to you. They're your friends. Taking the road less traveled. It may look like a boulder, but in reality, all you have to do is step over the rock. And back here in these little blue, purple flowers are all the elements that you need. The elementals are in there to help you. One last card is transformation. Magic is abounding. From caterpillar to fairy, butterfly, from seed to pumpkin on the vine.
Yep.
So nurture your ideas. That's on the bottom of the deck. It's only a forward movement. Kangaroo cannot go back. He can only hop forward.
Very good. All right. Well, the first thing I drew was the Page of Fire, which talks about outgoing, creative, mischievous. These are all elements of your personality, of how you are. And those elements are what helps develop your abilities. They'll help guide you which direction to look at for what gifts you had. That's how I was taught and what I believe. And so sometimes I wish they'd hurry up and get to the next one. And other times it's like, okay, that's too much, back off. You have to let them know when you're ready, when you're not. And then I pull the wheel, which is Archangel Michael. And with this one, it's talking about a positive change. Situations suddenly move forward. So again, that's what are you open to? You've got to let yourself go into it and open yourself up for it. And then the last one I pulled was the moon, Archangel Haniel. I think that's how you say it, Haniel. And it just says important psychic insights. So again, relying on the moon, tonight's the new moon, right? Isn't that tonight? Yeah, tonight's the new moon in Cancer. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what I heard the other day somebody say.
Yep, it's the
So
new
that's something else to help pull in those insights. That psychic ability is I'm trying to remember which one is. I always get the full moon and the new moon mixed up for a ritual of new moon is when you're putting new wants and desires out there. Write them down, bury them, put them in a book somewhere. They're safe. And then on the full moon, you take them out and you release them and you burn it or throw it away.
However, whatever suits your purpose the best as far as the action. But yes, the full moon is manifestation, and it's what you want. You plant the seed with the new moon and you get the abundance with the full moon.
Exactly. All right, let's see. Oh, I think that was it because we had already answered the other two. I just forgot to unstar them. Well, ladies, we've been out at this for an hour and almost 10 minutes now.
Okay.
I did not mean to keep you this long unless y'all want to go a little bit longer. I'll leave that up to you. I've been trying to trim it back just so people don't get bored and disappear.
Yeah. Well, I have another show and it's not immediate,
okay.
but I've got some chores that I got to get done before.
Right. Some things to go do.
Oh, and actually, I got a reading. Oh my gosh, I forgot I have a reading at 4:00.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. I just wanted to bring this up. I saw Imelda had put down.
Okay.
She got a beginner's deck. I don't remember which deck I recommended, but good, you got the deck. And you're memorizing the names. That's better than me. I haven't memorized any of them. I couldn't tell you. Until I look at the card, I can tell you what the cards, what number is what. I haven't gotten that far.
Common use of them just brings it all together for you.
It's
the more you use it,
in the little class that I sat in last night. That was something that the teacher said. He was like, you can spend all your time memorizing and all this kind of stuff, but really what it comes down to is just using them and just throwing them out there. And whether if you memorize them or not, the more you use them, the more you absorb about them. And you may get meaning A for this reading, and 2 days later, you pull the same card and it means something totally different because it's going to depend on the person and the reading.
And
it took me a while to get that. Yeah.
Could show up in a different spot if you're doing especially a Celtic cross.
Right. Right. So, well, we're gonna wrap it up because I know y'all got things to do, and I'm starting to get hungry.
Yeah, me too.
My stomach's been over going. I'm like, oh, the
This
microphone.
was a lot of
won't pick
fun,
that up.
Sherry. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
thank y'all for coming. You're both
Yes.
welcome back anytime. Just
Thank
say
you.
the word. And just got a weather update. Hurricane Beryl is now northward heading towards Texas and us in Louisiana. So
I heard
y'all
from
keep everybody
Liz
on the coast in your prayers. So
I heard from Liz and all this morning. They made it through okay in Cozumel. So
Cozumel, I know I heard that Caricature, is that the name of it? One of the Windward Islands down there just got wiped out. They said it hit them at like a Cat 4 when it hit. And just did absolute damage. I don't even know if they've gotten communications up yet with them. So but
they said they didn't have electricity, but that was a couple of hours when I heard from her. So
yeah, and the thing of it
not.
is for those of you that aren't in hurricane territory, normally we don't get a storm this big and this strong this early in the season. It's usually not until end of August going into September, October that you start getting these big Cat 4, Cat 5 hurricanes because you have to wait for everything to kind of heat up and get a little hotter. And everything is so hot now that it's, I mean, Beryl, that's a B. This is the second named storm of the season. And it was a Cat 5 for several days and dropped to a 4 and then went back up and dropped back. So it's kind of doing that shifting dance, from a 4 to a 5. And I know meteorologists, I saw something on the Weather Channel about a month or two ago that this is the first year that the meteorologists are saying, look for Cat 6. Very possible. And I'm like, holy moly, we thought Cat 5s were bad. I mean, I've been through 3 Cat 5s. I know how bad they can be, how scary they can be. I can't imagine a 6. It's like, wow, that blows my mind. I mean, you're talking sustained winds of about 200 miles an hour for a Cat 6. It's like, that's pretty strong. And pretty much takes out everything. So, well, thank y'all for coming. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, ladies, again for finally indulging me and letting our schedules mesh together. Y'all be sure you catch Angela tomorrow for her class that she does at 1:00 Central. It's a lot of fun and it's very interesting. It really is. And then y'all both do the Oracle thing on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And I've got, of course, Night Owls Saturday night. That's my slumber party at 11 p.m. Central every Saturday night. We have fun and wear your PJs. It's part of the rules. You got to wear your PJs. And and then Sunday, I've got monthly mysteries with Amy, Warrior Princess. And we're doing a reading on an incident that happened back in the 70s and the 80s, something. 3 men on a boat that only one survived, thinking that the other 2 had been survived and he was going to die. And it turned out happening the other way around. And so we're just going to go read on it and see what we can pick up. And maybe if we can figure out what went wrong. And just looks really interesting.
That does sound very interesting.
Yeah, we do that once a month. Amy was wanting to do something like that. I said, pick it, and send me the story, whatever we're doing it on, and I'll join you. So that's what she loves doing that. So I'm like, yeah, I can do that once a month. That'll be fun. And
Cold case.
Oh, and tonight is polyterology on the Cool Crow. So me and Gerald and Val, Dragonfly Crystals, Cleo the Seer, Colleen the Cool Crone. That's usually fun. A lot of fun, sometimes too much fun. We have a good time with it.
It's fun.
All right, people. Y'all take care. Don't get overheated this weekend. Or if you're on the other side of the planet, don't freeze to death this weekend. Like Dr. Ann, who's in New Zealand and is freezing right now. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.